After less than 2 years, Fort Liberty, at least the name, will be no more. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth signed an executive order last night, changing the post's name back to Bragg. This time they're hoping with less controversy. WRAL's Sean Gallagher was the first to talk to the family of the namesake. And Sean, give us an idea. What was their response to this news?
Dan, I think a surprise would be an understatement. The son-in-law of Roland Bragg tells me that I was the first person to break this news to them. But once that shock wore off, they were elated to hear that signs like this at Fort Liberty will soon bear their dad's name. It's been 25 years since Roland Bragg's passing, but his name now bigger than ever before. Fort Liberty is going to be named after your father. I talked with the Sokol family this morning, breaking the news to Bragg's daughter and her husband about the name change.
I'm very surprised this morning, but I think it's great. I mean, he is genuine. I mean, he was a decorated World War II veteran, European theater, who saw considerable action and trained at Fort Bragg.
The family missed a call last night from a lieutenant colonel with the Army. My call to them today, alerting them the largest military post in the world will now bear their father's name, a promise during Donald Trump's presidential campaign.
Should we change the name from Fort Liberty back to Fort Bragg?
The fact that the Gold Star families participated in the naming process, the community did, to come up with Liberty, which defines it all.
Fayetteville Mayor Mitch Colvin says the city accepts the decision, but he fears the name could be a political football, depending on who's in office.
Those are the kind of efficiencies that I think local people and the average citizen care about. They want our time and our leaders invested in things that move us forward, and things like this kind of often speak to the opposite of that.
But for right now, the family of a World War II Army private first class is elated by the honor.
He'd be amazed. He'd be amazed. I think he'd be rather humble about it. I don't think he'd expect any. He wouldn't expect any special attention. No, he wouldn't be the type of fellow who would expect that. He would just be very surprised about it.
So the change from Bragg to Liberty was an estimated $8 million. Now, the Army has not provided an estimate for how much the change back will cost. But to give you an idea, the DOT, who's responsible for the highway signs, tell us that replacing those should cost about $200,000 or more. And that's $40,000 more than it was to replace them originally.
Yeah, so the cost is up. Politics also, let's put that aside. Sean, back to something you said right off the top is that you were the first to break this news to his family. So were they not contacted by the Army before the announcement that this change was being made? Well, they must have been shocked to hear from you if they hadn't known about it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, Dan. And when I was talking to that son-in-law, he tells me they did have a missed call last night from a lieutenant colonel wanting to talk about Roland Bragg. Didn't mention why or anything like that. They thought it was strange because he's been dead for 25 years, and they didn't know why somebody from the Army would want to speak to them. Had plans to call him back, but never did. I talked to them about this, and it was the first time that they heard about it. And, you know, they are happy to hear this. But maybe the bigger question right now is why this Bragg? Back in 2022, they had a naming commission, and Roland Bragg was one of 5 Braggs on the list that could have been a name change for this, but he didn't make it onto the next round. The only Bragg that got to a semifinalist level was a Union General, Edward Bragg, but his name was not included in that finalist list either.
All right, Sean Gallagher reporting live at the base. Appreciate it.